Hey guys, how you going? Hope you're all doing very well. This afternoon I'm going to be doing another movie review for you all, so hopefully you find this one interesting. This movie is an action thriller from Kazakhstan, Russian language English subs, released in the year 2024, directed by Adilkhan Yazanov, and this film is called Steppenwolf. So Steppenwolf is set in a desolate, barren landscape. It appears that something horrible's happened to the world, but we're never quite sure, but we know that lawlessness has run amok. The police don't have any real power, and it's every man for himself. And so the main character is this woman. It appears that she's traumatized, she doesn't speak very much, she's not very coherent, but we know that her son has been kidnapped, and so she needs help. So she gets help in the form of this ex-policeman who actually turns out to be a psychopath. What he does is barbaric and unforgiving, but that's the only option that she has. So the two of them embark on this perilous journey where nothing is as it seems, and it's all going to result in a bloody aftermath. And so what that aftermath is something you're going to have to find out for yourself, because that's as far as I'm going with my synopsis. Now my thoughts on Steppenwolf. I wanted to see this movie for such a long time. I'm not familiar with Kazakhstan cinema, and so this is my first experience, but when I saw the trailer, I thought this looks absolutely fantastic. It looks very mysterious, and what's it going to produce? And so it took so long for me to get the opportunity to watch Steppenwolf, but when I finally got the opportunity, I had massive expectations. Not a lot of people talk about it, but just by seeing the trailer, I thought this is something I have to see. And I had my fingers crossed that it was going to be absolutely fantastic, and after watching Steppenwolf, that's exactly what this movie is. This is absolutely fantastic because it's an experience in the action thriller genre that I really haven't experienced before. And that is because the movie has so much ugliness to it, but it also has a lot of beauty to it as well. And so when those contrasting sort of emotions clash, this is something that makes you feel uncertain. And the lack of certainty creates vulnerability, and that creates that strong sense of discomfort. So there's a lot of emotions in this movie that's packed into one, and I thought Adilkhan Yazanov handled it very, very well. So this is an incredibly impressive action/thriller, but as I said, it's unlike anything that you've seen before. So number one, this is very nihilistic. This is very, very cruel. It's depraved, and so if you don't like that kind of thing, steer well away from it. This is not stylized. This is matter of fact. It's very realistic violence. The violence actually took me by surprise. It's not an overly gory film. A lot of the gory moments actually take place off screen, so it's creating that monster inside your head, and that monster inside your head actually plays a very pivotal role, because this is a film about ugliness. It's a film about the corruption of evil upon this poor woman who's trying to get her son, but you're never quite sure whether or not she's going to get her son, because the more the movie goes on and the more they go into their journey, the more it's engulfing this woman. And so this woman is the beacon of hope and innocence, but unfortunately as the outside world is so corruptive and evil that it's just very depressing to watch. It's very tragic. But I actually really like the relationship between the main character and this ex-policeman. Now this ex-policeman is an anti-hero. He's really, really, really nasty, and so be very careful of that. It's not a film where you can actually root for someone. It's a film where you're just seeing how a desperate situation unfolds. And so this man, he's doing horrible, horrible, horrible things, but there were moments of glimpses of humanity thrown into him. And so that's something that I really like, because there were actually tender moments between the main character and this man, and I thought, alright, well this gives me the impression that maybe this man was actually good in the past, but what's actually happened to him? You're never quite sure. What's it with this main character? Why is she stuttering? Why it seems like she's so shell-shocked? These are questions that are never really answered. And so again, it doesn't give you that sense of closure, therefore the control is non-existent. And so it's a whirlwind of violence, it's a whirlwind of destruction, but the destruction actually creates a sense of beauty as well in the cinematography. So it's very Mad Max-like, the original Mad Max, not the recent Mad Maxes that are very glorified. This is the original Mad Max, where it's very desolate, and you feel as though fear is around every corner. But the way that this movie is shot, the explosions, things that you associate with destruction, it actually illuminates the sky to a point where you actually feel as though it's beautiful to look at. And so you're marveling at all the destruction, because the destruction has a very hypnotic presence about it, and that was something that I really, really liked. It's very hard to do, explosions actually making it look beautiful, but the way the sky is just filled with different colouring, this is the contrasting emotions that the movie manages to produce. And that was something that I thought was the most positive aspect of this movie, is that it's actually bringing a beauty out of ugliness, and that's very hard to do, and I definitely feel as though Adilkhan Yazanov achieved that in a way that again made me feel uncomfortable. So I didn't know whether to marvel at the beauty, whether to bask in all the depravity, and so there's just, as I said, there's that whirlwind of discomfort where you're never quite sure where to go. And so the film just keeps you on edge because of the fact you want to know how it transpires and whether or not this woman is actually going to get her son back, and you want to know more about this man who's helping her. and you're never quite sure whether or not the man is actually going to end up attacking her because of how psychotic he is. But again, there are glimpses of humanity in this ex-policeman that makes you think maybe he was a good person, and these glimpses of humanity are maybe his true persona. And so that was something, again, I liked. I thought as though everything in this film actually created a thought-provoking response, and that's something that you don't see very often. The choreography and the fight sequences was absolutely superb. This is very realistic, and so it's very, very high impact. When people get shot, you actually feel it yourself. It's just the way that the camera is used, and I thought that was actually really, really good, because as far as action thrillers are concerned, you expect all this gratuitous violence, this cathartic violence, but this violence, even though it's happening to people that you would deem as evil, is really, really uncomfortable. And so I didn't like the death scenes, but I could actually appreciate them because it's showing violence for how destructive it can be. And so that was something that I also really liked. I thought the side characters, everything was very strange, and so again, that creates that discomfort. And the way that the movie finished, I thought, was actually quite beautiful. And so that was something, again, as I said, contrasting emotions around every corner that makes this movie a movie that really hasn't been made before. So this director has taken the genre of action and he's actually created something a little bit different. This is something that foreign cinema do very well, and if this is any indication, then Kazakh cinema is in really, really good hands. So I thought as though the soundtrack was very good as well, again, very beautiful. So the soundtrack combines with the cinematography in a way that creates a character of its own, and it's always standing beside you, and you're never quite sure what's standing beside you. Is it dangerous or is it salvation? As I said, be very, very careful, because it's very, very cruel. It is an exercise in hatred against humanity, but it throws in a little bit of humanity in there to actually give you the impression that maybe life in the past was a lot better. So if it sounds like your kind of thing, go out there and see it. I'm going to give Steppenwolf 4 stars. Alright guys, that's it for my review. Hope you enjoyed it. Till next time, keep watching movies, and I'll see you later. Bye.